7th, 2021 to order. Would you please rise for the pledge, remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Butler, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Watt.
Here.
Mr. Guzman.
Here.
Mr. Beckles. Mr. Military.
Here.
Mr. Water. Here. Mr. Boyer.
Here.
President Biden.
Here. We had two executive sessions, one on June 1st and one on June 5th to discuss personnel and litigation. At this time, I'd like to start with our reports. Mr. Snell.
I only have one thing outside of my submitted written report is I was contacted about a month or so ago by a student from Trinity Christian School looking to do a community-based project. Normally their class would do the project as a group project. This year, however, each student was forced to find a community project to do among themselves. They had reached out to me asking if there was something they could do at the community center. And I said we'd be happy to, and I spoke with Commissioner Watt. And through that, the students did do a community project at the community center. They trimmed some evergreens and moved some old edging, put new edging in, weeded, remulched an area right behind the community center sign. And that was a Sarah Clunchak from Trinity Christian School.
Yeah, I'd really like to thank her as well. She did a very nice job, and that's been a good improvement to the entryway over there.
Thank you. Extend our appreciation to her. Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple updates on the First Main project. Tonight, for approval on a requisition are the two final pay requests for both the contractors. That will close out the project for those two projects. I actually had the opportunity this weekend to ride the trail from Boston down to Lake Vista, and then a little bit from Boston to Eastwood. It looks great. It looks like we've got them everything. So, trail looks great. So, my recommendation would be to pay them, close those two jobs out, and we'll take the project. So, since our last meeting, 10 Vessel has been closed. So we will be meeting here shortly with the contractor. Basically have a site meeting, and we're ready to start for probably the next few days. So that part of the project will go next. Start for this language item. The agenda is the award the paving contract to Tresco. Once that's completed, I'll get the contract documents, get the construction meeting going on that, and get that scheduled. Grant applications, send all the information over. If the commissioners have any questions on the update information, I'll do that. And then the last thing is unconstructed Blacklist Jacktown Road for April Hall. You take a look at it. However you guys want to see the next step, just let me know how you want to go about it. That's all I have.
Just a little question about the Jacktown Bridge. That was, Paul, he's, feel free to chime in here. If you felt that DPW could handle this, would you like me to do an oversight on that project? On the slide, excuse me.
Any other questions? Thanks, Mr. Brown. Appreciate it. Thank you. And the Force Main project, will you updated us on that? Yes, sir. Now, Chief Blake, please report.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, police report. There's two notes in case one here. This one. Traffic cameras have been installed on the Pleasant Bridge. Small pass to be 1117 to install that. So we put the operation on that one. Also on May 22nd, the Department of Water Design, Pennsylvania Commission on Private Relations. Actually, we're going to
appreciate you stepping up to the plate and serving. That's exactly what you do. Yeah. Thank you. Paul, Public Works. Might need to lean in there, Paul.
Other than the bridge report submitted last week, the only thing that our main project right now is getting ready for the paving and cut grass. So, if anybody has any questions?
I do have a question, Paul. When will you be able to finish, on front of police?
And as soon as I get the stuff ready for paving, because we got the rest of the work on to do too. We ran out of weather last year.
This catch basin breaks the rain.
Yeah, I know.
And Paul, I have a question. Do you have an estimate of how many lots that you cut right now?
I just got some more at it. I'll have to get it.
Maybe like 25 or 50 or 75?
We're up to 35, 37. After taking all the other ones off, we're still
At 36? Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions for Paul? Thank you. Senator, how are you?
Good, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In addition to our written report, the treatment plant is running well. We treated approximately 44 million gallons of sewage in the month of May, averaging about 1.14. All effluent parameters were in compliance for the month. I'd like to draw your attention to two major maintenance items that we had. Both at Boston Pump Station on the 16th. We had a call out, a large rug came into the station and destroyed one of the pumps. That was a major repair and cleanup there. And then, no sooner was that repaired than on the 21st, we also had an issue where a line cracked. So, obviously the station is very near the end of its useful life, and the new one is certainly needed. I can address any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Mr. Kins.
I have nothing to report outside the items that we discussed in our previous executive sessions. Thank you.
Mr. Butler?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to start off by, I was going to state that the Penn Fed's funding did close, like John already just informed us, but I would like to thank KLH for the completion of the first phase of the project, which, when I started as manager, that project had started, the actual construction. I couldn't have asked for a better team with John and Kevin Craig, so they did a fantastic job. We had our bumps, but all said and done, it was beautiful job, done correctly, so pretty excited about that. I would also like to thank the Elizabeth Township Rotary and Eric Ash in particular. They did sponsor a high school event where several of the students went on to scenery drive and cleaned up some litter. There's also been other groups that I'm not really aware of, but I know they've done the work. Paul, in his report, said he's picked up 50 bags of garbage this month. So thank you to all the residents who have taken the time to do that, and thank you for the high school students and teachers for putting in that effort. On the business side, we had two what you would call safety audits this month. We had an MRM, which is our company that's our insurance company that manages our workers' comp. We had a visit from them. They visited all of our facilities, and especially the road department. Everything was pretty good. They had a couple of suggestions like storage lockers, first aid kits. She also introduced me to some training programs that we'll implement over the next year to help to help improve safety. And then we also had travelers who handles our general liability insurance business. Similar kind of an interview, not so much a walkthrough, but an interview. Also really good recommendations. We want to implement some safety things also, so we'll be doing that over the next year. But all in all, those visits were very successful. That's really all I have on the. But then we are preparing for our audit, which we should happen in the next month or two. I was in touch with our today, we're starting to make plans to do the audit for 2020. And then, as I mentioned last month on the Zoom meeting, each month, if I have suggestions for motions for next month, this would be the venue where I can bring it up. I have one consideration for the commissioners. And again, all the information is available on a shared drive that the commissioners have with myself. And they can look into any information before they make their decision next month when the motion lands on the agenda. But Paul and I have been talking since the salt shed is finished. And I think you're starting to transfer some, I believe, started this week or last week. Once that building's clear, probably to demolish it because it's useless. And we were having a discussion about possible to do, what would you call what kind of building would you call it? A full building?
A whole building shed type building.
Where the existing shed is for storing all the equipment that's out front now. So it can be protected during the winter. And it could be, it wouldn't have a door, but it would be protected from the weather. It would be out in front of the building back where it belongs. So something for you to consider. Paul did gather some quotes. The prices range from $51,000 to $63,000. So look at what I have. That stuff's already on the drive. If you have any questions or need further information, let us know. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Any questions for Mr. Butler?
What size building you're looking at? What size building or just replace the
Just
existing size?
replace of what's there, or the same footprint.
Okay.
Along the same line, we still have those bins out there to accept rubbish. Not rubbish, it's supposed to be sticks, branches, and so forth. I know that had to be moved out there because of the construction of the salt shed, but I've also heard through the grapevine that that's being abused by contractors, and that maybe we ought to think about putting that to bed and bring it back out in the fall, because it is an eyesore. It's a pain in their neck because they dug grass clippings in there, and we all know what that smells like a week later.
Paul, is your recommendation for the demo of that building to eliminate a lot of that stuff that's out front? Am I correct?
Yeah, it's just there's not just sitting outside, but it be undercover.
Right.
And, you know, the wintertime we have all the summertime stuff in it.
Right.
Just got off of the seasons. Everything would be out of the weather.
Okay. I'd just like to thank Mr. Butler, over the last several months with all the Zoom and all the activities going on. I think he's done a fabulous job. I just want to thank him for his efforts, and sometimes we don't do that enough, but we appreciate your work. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Committee reports, budget and finance,
Nothing to this month.
code enforcement building inspection.
Yeah, we just had a demolition hearing at 6 p.m. and we have 15 homes on the agenda to condemn and demolish. That we have 5 outstanding, and after taking a couple away that may be demolished by the property owner, we're going to be tearing down about 18 homes this year. So that'll be a major improvement in the way our community looks.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation,
Nothing to report at this time.
personnel, Robert.
Yes, we had a interview for police chief on Friday, June 4th, and would like to thank retired FBI agent Phil Rendon for helping conduct interviews, and he actually sorted through the candidates, and it was a great interview. Most of us were here, we spent most of the day, and it was a good day, so we're looking forward to doing second round interviews. That's all I have for personnel.
Thank you. Sanitation, Mr. Watt.
Nothing to report.
Okay.
I do have something from Elizabeth Burrows, since I sit on that board.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, thanks, Mark.
They're currently in the process of evaluating their system for a potential sale. And it came up at the last meeting, they're in a 537 plan, they want to connect part of Elizabeth Township to expand their plan. And that would include the Simpson Health Pump Station, the Lovedale Pump Station, and it would include almost 1,000 more customers from the Howell Plant area. Because currently they're pumped up over the hill and they go to Buena Vista and then we go to Keyspool. Right now, it would be a cheaper rate for our residents to go to Elizabeth Borough, but decided as a board, and I kind of, you know, represent the township, and I brought it up at the last meeting, and the board did decide that we're not gonna buy into the 537 plan until they determine what they wanna do with their sale, because our residents could potentially be more, plus we have a couple $1 million project to pay for, so, I requested that you send a letter to the DEP asking for, you know, not a quick movement on the sale, because we're not in a position to make a quick decision until a decision is made from the borough, what they wanna do with the sale of their system, or the potential sale of their system. So instead of us moving forward with the project, and the board did agree with that, and I did want to update this board and the public to that. We're not moving forward with any project at this point, but it's still a potential option in the future, determining what happens down there. Anybody have any questions?
I'd like to also thank Jim Lesniewski, who sits on the Elizabeth Borough Municipal Authority Board with Rob. These two gentlemen are really making sense out of this, where Elizabeth Borough is not. And so keep up your good work, Rob. That's going to turn into a battle, I'm sure, if it hasn't already.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, we have public comment. We have John Higdon. Oh, yeah, John Higdon, Sea Cadet. Vic, are you going to speak on the same subject, or is it all different? Okay. Yes, please. You have 3 minutes, sir. Yeah. And if you didn't state your name and your address, please.
Address?
Yeah.
Like my home address?
Yes, sir. Okay.
For sure. Jim Morgan, retired Navy Chief. My home address is 4019 Great Star Court, Jeanette, PA, 15644.
Okay.
Representing the USC cadets, I'd like to start off with a small story. The date is December 8, 2012. Dr. Johnson is being held captive by the Taliban, well-armed and determined guard force. A young man by the name of Nicholas Czech leads a SEAL team to rescue him. They're spotted as they approach the compound, and the Taliban run in to where the hostage is being kept. Nicholas rushes after that because he knows the hostage is in danger, and he is met with mortal gunfire and passes away. But if it wasn't for his bravery, the mission would have failed, and the doctor would have died as well. I tell you this short story because Nicholas was one of ours. Back in the 1990s, he lived in Irwin and was part of the Sea Cadet program that we have here in Pittsburgh. I'm not saying that we produce heroes like Nick at all, but what I think our program does, it opens the opportunity for these young men and women ages 10 to 18 to see their potential and to achieve greatness. So we've been using your facility here at the Elizabeth Recreation Facility, I guess, for, well, I guess 3 or 4 years now. And I just wanted to come and say, one, thank you for letting us use that. We'll let you know that, we do train these young men and women in leadership, team building skills, service to others, patriotism, military bearing. So, it helps us build a strong America with the help from you guys, and I appreciate that. We also help, keep up the facility. We clean the trails off at least annually, and especially after, a storm comes through. We also help Rick Saccone out with his new Constitution and Godly Heritage Center that he built. So I do have a letter of appreciation for the borough. And the U.S. Naval Sea Cadet Corps Pittsburgh Battalion Certificate of Appreciation presented to Elizabeth Township in recognition of the continued support of the U.S. Naval Sea Cadet Corps Pittsburgh Battalion. We believe that a strong America starts with a strong community. And it's because of that, your kindness and generosity in allowing us to use your facilities that we can continue building tomorrow's leaders today. Your unwavering support reflects great credit upon the community and are in keeping with the high traditions of the Naval Sea Cadet Corps. Signed, Vic Rogers, Commanding Officer. Can I approach you? Is that to you?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
You're very welcome. Commander, would you please introduce the group that you brought with you, please?
Absolutely. Steve colleagues, I have Warrant Officer Hickman. Behind him is Vic Rogers, Lieutenant. He's our commanding officer. Then we have Midshipman Morgan. Behind him is Petty Officer Dolitz. And behind him is our leading Petty Officer First Class Hickman.
Thank you.
So we're going to stick back afterward in case you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your service. Is anyone else in the group going to speak, or was that was it? Okay. Thank you again for your service to these groups. Emil Burek, you can stand up to the mic, Mr. Burek.
I tell you, I don't feel good today. I have 8 pages of stuff that I wanted to talk about, so I'm not going to talk about them. A couple issues. One, I'm sick and tired of the sessions you have, executive sessions. It's always litigation and personnel. And Matt, you know you have to be specific. It's in the law. And I'm going to make copies of that if I find it. I've been throwing tons of stuff away. And it has to be more specific. I want to make that clear for all of you who don't know that. But I'll bring, the next month, I will bring the law about that. That's crap, okay? But anyway, I know you're working on a comprehensive plan, and I want to know what has been done in this year in this community other than building a salt bin. I don't know what's been done here. There's a year of secrecy. Nobody knows anything. Come here to find out anything. No meetings or nothing. North Huntington Township had open meetings right from the get-go. I've been in restaurants, so all these people know. I've been in restaurants all over Pittsburgh. You name the area, I've been there. Wall-to-wall people, no masks, no nothing, and we're doing this, and we're just starting. Northwest Bank is open, no mask or anything. They have a lobby about this big, and here we are, masked and separated. It's crazy. If you don't have if you're upset about that, and you don't have your 2 shots, you don't belong here. Get out of here. But anyway, I'd like to know what's going on. I have an agenda here, 3 agendas that I've been preaching about for 10 or 12 years, and that's to get the sewer system done and finished. Joanne knows about it. I want to see a library in this community. It's ridiculous what's going on here, and I want to see a power plant in here. I see all these signs around here, and I'm definitely for a power plant. I want to give you an example. I'm running out of time already, but in southwest corner of Utah, they tore down a major coal-fired power plant, huge, feeding power to California. They already have blackouts. It's on an Indian reservation. 300 some people, Indians work there, making $100,000 to $130,000 a year. The coal mine's right next to the plant because the environmentalists, wackos, and eco-terrorists convinced them that they don't need that. Now all those people are going to end up on welfare. I got a lot of other stuff, but what I'm going to do, if I get somebody to type it for me, I'm going to bring that all up, and for every one of you, you can read it. And as far as this salt bin, Joanne will verify this. 10 or 12 years ago, there was a bond taken out for the library and a salt bin and general expenses. Here we are, 12, 13 years later, we're just getting it. This is crazy. And we have to be more open about what's going on here. Last time I talked to you, you said, we can't do nothing about till we get the comprehensive plan. I've been in all kinds of communities that have they're out there getting grants, they're doing things while they're working on a comprehensive plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Cindy Rojoff.
I have a voice that carries except with the mask, so hopefully this will transpire. I'm on the same topic. I guess that's the topic of the day. I know a lot of people don't know, but Wayne Washowicz was a very good friend of mine long before he was on the zone. And he called me one day after he took over his opposition on the zone and said, Cindy, I need you to answer a question for me. What is going on in Elizabeth Township? You have great zoning, you have great ordinances, but nobody ever enforces them. And unfortunately, I think that's true. We have more ordinances that we just put on the books, but I don't see any enforcement. My family and Dave Oberdick were very good friends, and he would be rolling in his grave about what's in Greeno. That people are putting pools without permits. They're putting sheds without permits. They're putting buildings without going to zone. But yet other people do. It's not fair for the people that go through the system the correct way, and they are paying the money, and everybody's doing what they want. I went down Penhurst today. Penhurst is not easy to travel because you can go so fast. There is a car parked in the middle of the street. So where is our enforcement? Are we ever in this township going to be transparent, accountable for what is going on here? I think it's important. We're talking about putting a whole new building structure down by the river, and Scott brought it up. What are you going to do to enforce what is going on? Because there's not been any enforcement for a lot of years, including with sewage that was just brought up. That we paid extra money starting in around 2012 for assessment. Where's that money? Where's the bonds? Where is that money? And around town, we're hearing that we're gonna pay $75 a month for sewage. I don't know that that's true, but on the other hand, we're hearing that new developments, they're not gonna have to pay that money. So I'm asking, as a lifelong resident, and my family's been here for generations, that you actually start to do your job and make things accountable, be transparent, and really take over and do what you just mentioned. That, hey, this is great, we're taking care of life, but what about the rest of the township and what's going on? Are we going to start to take care of that and let us know what we're doing? So I don't know that anybody can answer that question right now, but that's what I would like to see done.
I can address, I have no problem addressing that. You two are on a roll today, man. Code enforcement, major problem. Blight, major problem. I don't know why people don't take care of their properties. I don't know if it's people my age just don't care anymore or what.
I don't think they do, Andrew.
Now,
That's the problem.
Now, our code enforcement committee is being very aggressive. If you ask Greg, I call you every day. Okay, and whenever I see him, or anytime I walk into the municipal building, he looks up because he knows that I'm going to talk about code enforcement. Something else that we're going to be discussing in the future is utilizing the police force as well, because there are police officers patrolling all the time. If we can tag vehicles, if we have a police car that goes past the vehicle in the middle of the road, tag it, get rid of it. But it's something that you and I are very passionate about, and if we don't stop it soon, we're going to end up going downhill like surrounding communities.
Absolutely. So how are we talking about patio homes along the river when we can't take care of what we already need to take care of? So we need to take care of what we have, which is going to bring more people to the township. And it's not fair to the rich. See, I have somebody that on my street, that she came the same time my parents did back in 46 on that street. She's got to pay all of these extra bills that you're going to put, all the extra taxes. We're giving breaks to other people. We have to think about everything.
Thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate it. Kat, Helen, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right, that's my,
That's just Kat. That's okay.
I think somewhat, just like Cindy said, we have ordinances. I've been fighting the same problem.
You got it, just so we can hear you.
I've been fighting the same problem for 6 years, so I actually came today as code enforcement, which we've talked briefly. I've been through 3 commissioners, probably 5 different presidents, same problem, same people. When are we going to enforce it? But I did get a little bit of a highlight from John, because I've been hearing anything from you more hearings. You can ask Matt. We've been down to Pittsburgh. He's called me nasty names. The magistrate says, oh, just don't talk to Mrs. Tellermini like that. Well, what is that? He's still there. I get company in my house, and he doesn't talk to us directly. He talks to thin air. There's nobody else out there except me and my company, and I have to live like that? There's no sense in calling the police, because I've already done that. How many hearings have we had?
6 or
I
7.
stopped counting at some point.
They give him citations for all the junk. When he goes to the court, he can't afford it. Oh, we're gonna forgive him. What incentive does he have? Put him in jail? Oh, we don't want him to lose his job. In the meantime, would you like to live across the street from
No,
there?
I would not like to live there.
What's the address?
And I've seen it before, and I've talked to you about that. And we've been to court multiple times, like you said. I don't see what the issue is, why he's allowed to do this.
5910 Rosalind Street, trust me, you can't miss it.
It's a mess.
We've been to court numerous times, numerous citations. To magistrates, we've been to Pittsburgh. The judge in Pittsburgh dismissed all the cases, and there were, I don't know how many citations you recall. He was getting a citation a day, and it was a stack. And basically, the judge asked, "Is it look the same?" And I answered to the judge, "Your Honor, he covered it up with a pen, so it doesn't look the same. He's not guilty." You know.
Now it's out to the street. He
There
had-
is
he
a
had-
little bit of hope. The property has gone through foreclosure. The bank did get charge of the property, and they did reach out to us a while back because they did get an owner, a buyer for the property. And we worked with them to waive our die test and occupancy inspection so they can transfer ownership, and so the new owner, as soon as becomes able to start eviction process. We've been in contact, the new owner's willing to, as soon as he can get them out, he's willing to, clean everything up. And we even had township crews down there numerous times to clean up property, because it used to be across the street. It's just, I've been with the township now 6 years, and I've been dealing with him from my first day here.
Yep, I told you I was gonna be a thorn in your side, and I have proved myself right. Of course, it hasn't been anything accomplished.
I've been trying, you've been step by step beside me through the whole process.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I just want to add that the COVID delayed the eviction process.
Well, it probably was the same with Skyline, because the bank actually took it over in March, for the 1st of March.
Right, of last year, right?
Right, so it's kind of like.
Because they did contact John and I, we were trying to move on it, but we couldn't, so.
But they don't have any for private individuals, banks, not in any part of it.
So how many years before they can get them?
That's,
Patty, I thought of you when I was
Scott Taylor.
creating my speech.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Scott Taylor, 304 Mohawk Drive. To the transparency issue, item number 9 under known expenditures, changing the truck route for Olympus Energy. Just the fact that this is on here, you gotta put the blurb in there about having a conversation about it, communication. But just the fact that it's a line item for a vote tells the public that you guys have been talking about this for quite some time. It's not gonna come out, everything, asking questions. It's an agenda item for a vote, so somebody knows what's going on and that violation.
It's actually on for discussion item.
That's, I agree with that, but just the fact that it's under the vote.
There's somebody here to give a presentation on it, so that's another discussion.
Like Emil said, we know there's a lot of violations going on with you guys in your executive sessions. A couple of commissioners and I, we've had many conversations about this. Anyways, the truck route. Should this not be part of a public hearing, because this is changing the conditions from the conditional use hearing? I believe Round Hill County Park said they did not want it on County Road. That was one of the reasons that forced it over to the other side. Plus, there were how many people talked about they didn't want the trucks in front of them. That's why the agreement was to the route that it's currently set at. So,
The condition was for the township approved the truck route.
understand,
So we're all for-
and you approved that route as a condition, which is one of the conditions for the conditional use.
It is, but the condition was only that we approved the route. So if we approve the route, and it's a new route, and they'll explain, again, it's an item for explanation and discussion, it is being very simple.
Quite sure you won't explain your way through it, Matt. I think it should be going up for kind of public hearing again, because you guys put this on the agenda.
It's not a new application.
You guys put this on the agenda Friday at close of business. How many people live on that truck route, know about it, and have the opportunity to come up here and voice their opinions to you guys? I'd be willing to bet there's not one sitting in this room. Shrug your shoulder. There you go, Matt. But anyways, I believe Round Hill, County Parks did object to using Round Hill Road because of being in front of the park and the park entrance. But I didn't, obviously, because of when this was put, I had time to go back through my records on the public hearing. The non-agenda item, I put myself down for, if that's all right to speak now on it?
Yeah.
To get it out of the way.
Yeah,
This comes back from your PennVest meeting last week. After that meeting, I went on to their website, and lo and behold, most of what you guys found is dropped on you the night before is right on their homepage. It talks about bonding this stuff. How many people saw the paperwork from PennVest when you guys first agreed to take it on? I'm sure there's a mountain of paperwork, and you guys are busy or not, the engineers especially. You just come into this job, Greg. I mean, I know you didn't have time to read through this, but somebody had to have read the paperwork that says all these guys have been doing this since the late 80s. They didn't reinvent paperwork just for you guys. I'm sorry, somebody dropped the ball. You guys hired a special counsel specifically for this. What's he getting paid for? I sure as hell hope you guys aren't paying him, because he should have caught that if nobody else. Thank you.
Patty Hoffman. No problem. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Patty Hoffman, 408 Duncan Station Road. Okay, my comments are on the truck route, just like Scott was asking about. Because in the very beginning, this is a motion on here. It says to approve, so it is a motion. And since we have to talk before discussions, it's a little hard to know the answers to what to say. So you're looking at this, and why are they changing the truck route? We don't know that. You're going to discuss it, and then you're going to approve it. And as Scott said, we were told Round Hill Road was a no-no, that the county did not approve Round Hill Road. So do we have an approval from the county now? We don't know that. We don't know if they said it's okay that we can do that. They told us they couldn't make that turn. Can they make the turn now? Why can they make the turn now? And they couldn't make the turn before. Is this truck route going to be for other trucks, or is it only going to be for sand trucks? I mean, all these things we don't know. I have a whole list of things, like the agreement, has it been approved, what are the terms? Are there specific hours and times? Is there a start date and end date for the trucks, sand trucks using the road, which are very dirty, by the way, and very dusty, so it's going to be horrible. But will there be a hearing concerning the new truck route? And my biggie for you, Mr. Rocco, is
I'm reading, I'm following along. You're doing a great job.
how is this going to fit into that comprehensive plan when you were talking about the county
Well,
saying we want to do these trails?
Well, they haven't followed through yet. We don't know where they're at to purchase it up, but that's
Okay.
certainly something that.
Right, so we're looking at big old trucks coming through where they're going to want to have our comprehensive plan of people coming through doing this planning. So that fit right there for you, and
Thank you.
if I still have some time, okay, you can answer these questions if you want and let me know, but I have some questions from past items too. Was the solar ordinance 963 ever approved? Was it modified before it was approved? And will the ordinance be available online? Because I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
something we're discussing.
Approve that, we'll get it done there.
Okay, thank you, because I didn't have anything to read.
Yeah.
So I didn't know.
I think it was approved, yes.
And when are we going to go back to having workshop meetings so we can listen to you guys all discussing all these things so that we know what's up and coming at the next meeting and we know where we are on stuff. So if you can answer any of my questions when I sit down, I'd be very happy.
Thank you very much, madam. Appreciate your comment. Ted Price. Hi, Ted. How are you?
I'm good, good. Yeah, so basically I'm just following right along with the same comments that are going on here. Yeah, Greg, I really appreciate how you've given the transparency to say, hey, ahead of time, we're going to start discussing things we're going to talk about in the future and so forth. And you lay that out there, you put stuff on in the website, you can go ahead and say, hey, take a look at this. And even whenever it's not there, you admit to it and say, I'm really sorry about this. And so I really appreciate in that regard how that transparency is going. But this really gets to me whenever there is discussion for some things, but then you go to item 9, that's go ahead and right then and there, motion to approve Olympus Energy's sand truck. So it's not, I mean, how did this happen between the last meeting we had and now, and the fact that this has come up? With it, I think that this should be, I think item 9 should be tabled for tonight. You should have a discussion on what's going on. You should get some background information. You should then go ahead and make an informed decision of what's going on with how that's going to go. Check out with the county parks. Check out what the routes are. Look at what's happening with the comprehensive plan that you know is very important for this township. Look at some things beyond just it comes on the meeting and it's approved the same night. That's where it's very frustrating because you've done well in so many other areas. You're so good in so many other areas. Say this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. And it's just this destroys me when something comes on immediately and gets approved the same night, and there's no discussion about anything at all. That's where it's just totally not the same rules, and it gets very frustrating. But everyone else has said pretty much what I was going to say, so I'll save you a minute.
Appreciate it. I normally don't want to comment on public comment thing, but since it's been brought up multiple times, let me explain exactly how this happened, okay? I was contacted by Olympus about an issue they were having with their trucks, with their sand trucks in particular, and they had wanted to make a request on how to change the truck route. And I said, hey, look, you guys certainly can make that request to the township, but you'll need to come and give a presentation. I wanted to be as open and transparent as we possibly could. I said, we can make the request, which is why it's put on there as an approved, because that's what they're requesting. We'd like to be approved to change this truck route. But the discussion item was added because I said in the nature of transparency, you need to explain it. I bet most of these guys on here don't even know the details of it. I do because they reached out to me and said, we need to alter the route and explain it to me. So I had it added to the agenda. In addition to just putting it on as a motion that they wanted to change the route, I added it as a discussion item and had a representative here to explain it to the board. So again, it was all in the nature of transparency. I don't know what kind of dealings you think we're doing, but we're certainly trying to be as open and transparent as we can. So that's how that happened.
Okay. All I want to say for about a minute.
Okay, you have a minute, Ted.
I understand what you're saying there, but I think that it's important that you as commissioners have an understanding of what's going on with those items and have an understanding of how all that stuff goes down. And so I appreciate that there is a discussion about it, but I really think that this should be tabled for tonight on the other part and then put on another agenda.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. Speaking of discussion, we have a representative from Olympus Energy here this evening to talk about the change of the route. How are you?
Great, thank you.
It's warming up there as we speak.
Okay, that's perfect, John, thank you. Kim Price with Olympus Energy, thank you for having us and thank you for accommodating the request to present to the board. As was discussed earlier in the evening today, our approval of the Apollo B and Plutus well pads in Elizabeth Township included a condition that the township has the opportunity to approve our haul routes. And that is regardless of whether or not those haul routes include state or county roads. When we were working on the plans for those well pads several years ago now, this particular route was never actually contemplated. We anticipated that all of our loads would need to be coming in from a different direction, which would actually be, I believe, that would be east of the well pads. Currently, currently, we're in a situation where we need to procure sand from a different resource, from a different location for our upcoming completions operations, which will take place this summer. That has led us to come to the board to request that they approve a temporary alternate haul route for sand trucks only during completions operations at Plutus and Apollo B. The roads that you see highlighted on the map here, yeah, I came prepared. The roads that you see highlighted on the map here include Route 51, Round Hill Road, Douglas Run Road, and then, as you know, Nichols Hill Road reaches up to Apollo B, which is about right here, that little black square on the map. Of course, now if we are hauling to Plutus, we would then go up all the way to the top of Nichols Hill Road, turn right on Fallen Timber, and then reach the Plutus well pad somewhere around maybe a mile and a half down the road. This haul route is predominantly state roads, with the exception of Round Hill Road. It's a county road. Olympus is currently working to make sure that we can meet the satisfaction and all of the requirements of PennDOT and of the county to utilize those roads for this purpose. Some people had some concerns about timing, when are we using it, for how long, what's that traffic load look like? We're going to start using it if the board would be so kind to approve. The end of June through probably August for those completions operations, and that'll be for both well pads. And then the traffic, the amount of traffic we expect about 60 trucks per day. We're not getting all of our sand from this location. It's simply that the sand location that we normally procure from, which is a lot closer and it follows the normal haul route, they can't supply everything that we need to complete the operations. So this is going to enable us to make sure that the operations are swift and fast and meet the timelines that we've previously discussed before the board. A couple of other things I wanted to note for you. Under normal course of business, we do operate in conjunction with and collaborate with the Elizabeth Township Police Force as needed. They've helped us out from time to time in instances where we felt that we needed to have some increased safety presence, and of course, Olympus reimburses for those costs. So if that need were to arise, we would of course collaborate with the Township Police on that. And then the other item I wanted to bring up, which was something that a resident mentioned, was this turn down here. The turn from Douglas Run to Nichols Hill, that turn is pretty sharp, noted by us as well. We are going to be incorporating a flagging operation there to ensure that the trucks that are oncoming do not compromise the safety of anyone else on the road. It will also help make sure that traffic is aware and moving smoothly through that location. So, like I said, we're working with the state and the county to ensure that we can meet their requirements. And as we do so, we're asking the board if we could have permission to utilize this route temporarily for these operations as well. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I actually have, sorry.
Go ahead.
Has anybody looked at the route just to stay on 48 and take it straight to Fallen Timber? 48 to Simpson Island.
48 to Fallen Timber. So I believe that route was contemplated during our public hearing processes. Is that the route that would bring you out like near the diner?
Correct.
Yes. So those turns there were not approved after the traffic study investigations that we currently have, like the turn analysis that we've done here for Fallen Timber for Douglas Run to Nichols Hill.
I'm sorry, what size trucks are you talking about?
The sand, you have to forgive me, I don't know the exact size. They are triaxles.
About 22 ton?
Yeah.
They should make that turn.
Well, they're triaxles, but that route was contemplated and not approved by the board previously. I do know that.
What, our board?
By the township, yeah.
Was there a reason why?
Yeah, we wanted to keep them on the state and county roads, not on Fallen Timber as much as possible.
Kim, and that was going to be my question. I wasn't on the board when those routes were approved. What were the routes that were approved? Just to help me.
So the route that was approved came across that Sutersville Bridge.
Gotcha. So your sand is coming from that direction?
Yes.
That's,
Yeah,
I didn't
and we still will have some sand coming in that way. The most that we can procure that way, it will come. all of the sand that we need to supplement will be coming this alternate route that we're
So I
requesting for.
wanna just make sure I understand. So you're still gonna use the existing route that you've got approved a while ago, but this is an addition?
Yes, for only a limited amount of trucks, we're thinking about 60 a day is all we'll need to haul on that route, on this new route.
And what is the time frame?
So the time frame would be, completions operations are expected to begin at the Apollo B well pad at the end of this month. So we're thinking the end of June through August to get us through the operations at Apollo B and then also the operations at Plutus. And of course, we do to keep the township updated about, you know, our transitions to operations, whether I call Greg or John or whomever. We'll of course keep you guys updated when we begin and complete those operations, assuming you do want to know about that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so Kim, you said 60 trucks a day, will they be operating 24/7 or just during daylight hours? Can you give us an idea?
Right, so what we're trying to do currently, in keeping in mind the park, right? So one of the residents brought up the park. We understand that people like to, you know, work and play in that area, and it sometimes is pretty populated with people coming in and out of the location, and even people gathering on the roadway to you know, look at the farm. Currently, our strategy is to work very hard to make sure that all of the sands that can be procured from our original location happens during the day, and most of this loading and hauling will happen during the evening through the early morning. So during the daytime, it shouldn't be an impact for the park.
I would certainly like to see that as part of this agreement, if that's the right word, because that is a busy area during the entire week. Part of that question is, will this be Monday through Friday, or will it be 7 days a week?
It will be 7 days a week.
Assuming these are triaxles or tandem dumps, will these trucks be covered to avoid sand flying everywhere?
So our sand system that we utilize is a closed loop system. The sand that is hauled in is carried on what we call they're sand boxes. They're an enclosed cube that carries the sand. So there's no sand in an open dump of any kind. That's not how we operate.
How close are you to getting county approval for Round Hill?
So I know that our team has already been talking with the county. As of last week, they started talking with the county just at the same time when I reached out to the township.
Will there be an additional number of trucks coming in when you go to frac and Plutus, or are you going to bring all the sand in between June and August?
So the Plutus completions operations will take place in that time frame as well. First, we'll complete the wells at Apollo B, and then we'll go ahead and complete the wells at Plutus, all finishing likely by the end of August.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, and of course, I'll keep you guys updated on those timelines as well. Can I answer any other questions?
Rob.
Yeah, our approval, just to clarify, we're approving the route potentially, but it's contingent upon county and state approval, because we can't approve something for the county and say, hey, you could run your trucks on county roads. You have to get that separate approval from the county and the state. We're just approving the route in theory, but if the county says, no, you can't do it, or the state says you can't do Douglas Run, we don't have the authority to approve something on the county and state road. Just to make that clarify, you have to work that out. So that, I think that was something that was a concern for people, but, so I just want to clarify that.
That's correct.
What's going to ensure at the bottom of Nichols Hill when they're making that turn?
So that's where we're planning to incorporate a flagging operation right there. We don't have that. We don't have the county and state fully, we're not at the end of our conversations with them, but we're incorporating that into their conversations as well. And they're, I'm sure, going to make sure that we have a very thorough approach to that operation.
That'll be 24/7 flag will be.
So if we can keep that trucking operation to the evening to early morning hours, we'll only be flagging during the time that we're hauling on that route. So there would be no need to have someone there in the afternoon if we're not running
all 7 days.
Yes. Yeah.
One more question, Tim.
Sure.
The 60 trucks per day, just say they're in the 10 hour, just say it's from like 10 just a 10-hour period. Would those be 6 an hour? I mean, you're gonna try to
Yeah.
evenly spread those out, so it's not like, they're gonna be like 50 feet apart or anything like that.
Yeah, they're generally per hour, truly. They're, from my exposure to the operations, there isn't necessarily a time where we would pack an hour. But yeah, what we're looking at is the 60 per day. And if that's spread over a 10 or 12 hour window, we're looking at probably about 5 or 6 trucks per hour.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Anyone, any commissioner, any additional questions?
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
For making that clear. Appreciate
Rich, this is a point of clarification. The issue wasn't, when the commissioners were concerned about that intersection on 148, wasn't coming to, it was coming from, when they were doing the refill, and that coming across.
I got it, yeah.
That, and then having to sit there, and, you know what I mean, it's just with that traffic that comes over the hill, there was a concern about the length and getting across those 2 lanes of traffic, especially since a lot of the drivers aren't familiar with the area. So that was the real, it wasn't coming, they could definitely cut through and then get on fallen timber. It was coming back from the site that was the big safety concern. We actually had them engineer 3 different plans. They were looking at redesigning that whole intersection, but we had meetings, and it never worked out. It's a mess up there, the way that is structured.
Another point of clarification there too, Rich, is that route was approved, the 48 to Fallen Timber route was approved simply for the super large trucks that they bring in on the
Police.
with police.
Police escort. So they were allowed to use that for certain larger vehicles that couldn't go the other route. But we required that they and have police transport.
So all the other trucks have been coming across the Soonersville Bridge up that 800 yards on Douglas Run and then immediately up Nichols Hill. And that's worked out really well. And there haven't been any water trucks needed because they completed the CETA, or not the CETA, the water draw. And so that's worked out really well. They kept it clean.
Thank you. Okay, memorial plaque also, Greg.
I'll speak to this. I added this to the discussion items.
Craig, I don't think the microphone is on.
Is it not on? How's that?
You know better.
Okay. Can you hear me? I added this to the discussion items. I had Charles read down. Were you here, Charles? I've never met Charles. Okay, I guess he's not here. He contacted me. He's the head of the Steel Valley softball league. And a very unfortunate incident happened a couple weeks ago on the field. One of his young players passed away during the game. And he was asking that the commissioners give him permission and his league permission to install a small plaque on the outfield fence where his player played, I guess. And that's it. There is a motion on the agenda for it, because Charles was hoping to do it sooner than later, out of respect for him and his family. So that's really it. That's the discussion. Anybody have any questions?
Not on that, but we funded, we were missing a sign on the backstop from ETAA 2001. There was a coach and all the players won a championship. Well, we just noticed recently the sign was not there. So does anybody know if someone took it down purposely or? Nobody heard anything?
I asked around, and it's definitely not in any of those boxes down there, so evidently somebody grabbed it.
Thanks. Officers, roads,
Yeah, I'll try to handle this one. It pertains to motion on the non-expenditure items, is motion number 7. We have 15 roads in the township that, I've been a commissioner since 2014, and this was addressed in 2014, and it was actually addressed in 2012. And what the issue is, there are roads that were taken care of by the township, that were paved by the township, that were salted, but they were never officially adopted as township roads. We handled that. I think Joanne was the only one that was a commissioner at the time. We voted on it 7-0. The ordinance was never filed. It was never signed and it was never filed, even though it was voted on. But where the problem is, like, I have one road in particular in my ward, it's Edward Drive. It's really bad, it's been bad for a couple of years. I went to Paul, went to John, and they said, well, it's on Township Road. So we ended up going, you know, we said, well, we handle that, we went down in the meeting. So it's basically clean this up, so I mean, and this isn't just about Edward Drive, because these 15 roads are all over the township. I mean, they're in Boston, they're in Blaine Hill, they're all over the place. I mean, you know, but it is hopes, because I did talk to Paul Coyley, like he does have in the budget. I mean, Edward probably can't get paid in-house. There, you know, there's, because it's been waiting for about 3 years to get paid. But the problem is, it's for all the roads in the township to clean this up, so that's what we're at.
So this was passed in 2014.
14, yes,
And there was-
it was passed, the ordinance was drawn up, the exact roads, there's not any more roads added to that or anything like that, it just never was signed.
There was no evidence of adoption or execution, so the ordinance was prepared in draft form, not signed. There's no evidence of adopting it, advertising in the proper procedure, so it's best to go through that and make sure it's done.
Yeah, and like, the thing of it is, every one of you guys is gonna end up at some point with one of these roads, because they're spread out all over the township.
Joanne,
And it
did
just
you add
ended up.
anything to that? You know, are you familiar with this issue?
Yeah.
That's- Any questions for Rob? Joanne?
Yeah, John, how much do you think it's gonna cost us to fix these roads right away? If we would adopt them?
I don't think that's an
No,
estimate.
it's not the engineered for us.
I mean, we're taking care of it now, I think is the issue, correct?
Yeah, I don't think the intention is to go through and pave everything.
Right,
I think
right.
basically,
We need to
slowly
identify.
adopt them, because we've been maintaining them anyway, and then as they need it, they'll get added to the list, and as they need paved, it'll just become part of the paving program.
Okay, the next discussion item is use of certified mailings to notify neighboring properties of zoning hearing board variance of applications and hearings. Greg.
Thank you. I'll start this also, John, if you want to chime in. So the last zoning meeting, which was kind of an anomaly, it was the last month, right? Yeah, it was April. We had 10 zoning variants here, 10 zoning variances applied for, so it was a very lengthy meeting. And there's a legal requirement that when a resident applies for a variance, we have to notify the neighboring properties of the request for a variance. And in order to do that, currently our ordinance states that we send it first class mail and also by certified mail. Well, that particular case, there were so many houses near these requests that we spent in excess of $1,200 just in certified mailings. And the unfortunate part is that a lot of residents received the first class mailing first, understood what it was, realized that when they got their certified notice that the certified letter was waiting for them, they didn't pick it up. So they ultimately got returned to us. It's currently $6.25 to send the mailing. And it serves as a proof of delivery. But John and I have attended many zoning and light webinars, and on one of them in particular, they stated that you could use a proof of delivery report from the post office as proof of delivery, and that doesn't cost anything.
I believe it's $1.32, $1.30, it's like $1.35, it's under $1.35.
Okay.
And I believe it's called proof of mailing, it's first class mail, it's dropped off at the post office, you have basically a postal form with the address on it. When they put a postmark on the item, they put a postmark on that. That's your proof that the post office has it and is shipping it.
And also, we advertise in the paper, and we also post it on our website, and we also post the product. So there's, again, multiple ways for the neighbors to understand that there's a variance applied for. We just thought it might save the township some money, so I threw it into the items for discussion.
So 2 items just to consider. So first of all, the reason that was put in that way is there was an issue involving a very contentious zoning hearing, board meeting years ago, and a neighbor claimed that he didn't have notice, and he actually fell outside the notice requirement. So even though the property was posted, the advertisement was done, the public hearing was held, he wasn't in that zone. It wasn't illegal, it just he was outside that zone. So to avoid that issue, the commissioners at the time decided to amend that ordinance to put this more restrictive requirement on. So it is more restrictive than what is legally required. And normally, it's not that big of a deal. If you have one hearing, or you have one property where there's only 2 properties that are affected, it's not that big of a deal. Obviously, when you have 10, then it becomes an issue.
So it also varies where in the township it's
That's
located.
it.
I mean, if it's on Healthy Spring Road, it's fine. If it's Blaine Hill or Mount Vernon, any property within 300 feet really starts to add up. And I've even heard from the post office that, you know, they get certified mail from the township, people think they're getting sued. They panic when they see certified mail, you know, and we get so many of them back unclaimed. It's,
And I want to put, I think the issue is if you're going to amend it, you have to amend the ordinance, and because it's your zoning ordinance, there's an extra layer of process that has to happen. So you have to hold a public hearing, it's got to go down, it's got to go through our planning commission, it's got to go through the county planning commission for review and recommendation before it comes back here and is officially voted on. So it's not a big deal if you want to go through that process, it just takes some time.
Well, and I do believe that we did pass that cost on in the fee, correct? That, we don't absorb that cost.
we do, but it's, we kind of have to go go back to them after the fact, you know, because, yeah, because you have to apply everything when you apply for your variance. We don't have the certified mail costs, we don't know, you know, it can take time to try to recruit these costs. And it's turned out to be that most people don't even go get it. Which, you know, just looking at the volume of the returns we get, they're not, you know, they read their certified mail.
But on the flip side of it, I mean, and I don't think you were here when that happened. I mean, we almost got into major, you know, we got into major mess over it because somebody wasn't notified and.
So I was here,
Oh, you weren't either?
everything was done properly. We followed the state's requirements, the zoning hearing board was hearing was advertised 2 weeks prior, once a week for 2 weeks. The property was posted 7 days prior to the hearing, and that was the legal requirement. The person complaining was next door, did not notice the zoning notice sign in the person's front yard, did not come to the board complaining during construction, came complaining when everything was all said and done, the addition was built, everything, that's when they complained about it, after, you know.
But hence, if they're a certified mail, then we're covered because it was sent, we do have.
We're also covered under proof of mail. And the post office says they received it and they shipped it out.
This is my question. What would the next step be? Do we have to send it to planning for a motion? Can we just send it to them?
No, I think you would direct me, you don't even have to do, you could do it through consensus or formal motion, direct the solicitor to prepare the ordinance. I mean, I have to actually draft the ordinance, and then I can stick it on the agenda for going to, you know, going to planning and the county planning.
And is proof of mail sufficient? Is proof of mail as sufficient as certified mail?
That I don't know. I'm gonna defer to these guys. I always do it certified as well.
Yes, speaking with the postmaster, it states that the postal service received it, and it's in their hands. We mailed it.
Well, and I think the other end is that notice is actually more than what's legally required anyway. So the certified is
The actual notice is
above
above
the
the
required.
requirement. Yeah, the only 2 legal requirements are is the zoning hearings are published in the paper and the property's posted. Those are the only 2 legal requirements.
You have an issue with that, I think, yeah? Or you're gonna wait till the next meeting?
Take a look at that, right?
You want me to draft it? I mean, unless there's an objection, I'll just start moving something together. Okay.
Unless there's any objection, I would say draft.
Yeah, I'll just start putting something together.
Mr. President, before you continue with your indulgence, I'd like Dr. Roderick to talk about a very exciting project that he's been spearheading.
Sure.
It has to do with cleaning up Douglas Run Creek from acid mine drainage. He's been very hard at work at this now for almost 2 years, and it's starting to come to fruition. So, Rob, please.
Yeah, we'll talk about it real quick. What it is, the sulfur creek that comes out of the hillside from Ward Mine and goes past our schools and comes out of the yard. When you cross the Sugarsville Bridge, you see the big orange mountain of water and mud that comes in. There is a project, it's an acid mine remediation, and what it does, simply, they put in leach beds of gravel in a series to collect the sediment and take all the sulfur out, to whenever it hits the Yacht River, it becomes clear. They did this project in Lover. An interesting fact that the sediment that was taken out was sold to Crayola. They had a color in Crayola, it was called Lover Red for many years. That's what they used as the sediment out, the sulfur product. But they used it for makeup and a bunch of different things. But we're going after grant money. We went after a Growing Greener grant. We tried last year. We have an environmental engineer that's volunteered his time. He's one of the top environmental engineers in the state. He's done a lot of the groundwork and everything on this. We're trying to take it to the next level. The Growing Greener grant was not approved last year for insufficient information. So reached out to the DEP there in Evansburg. They have a Bureau of Abandoned Mines. They're willing to meet with us. John Lowry personally has taken time with his engineering staff, and they're going to sit down and meet with us to tell us exactly what they want in the grant so we can reapply and go after this grant. So we had an initial meeting. There's a lot of people on this project that are trying to really take it, see it to fruition. But we had an initial meeting about a week and a half ago, and we have another one on June 9th. So, we're really hoping to get this project going. It's a great project for Elizabeth Township. It's a great